Thank you, Chair. I'm going to speak on item A as well, the village precinct projects. I just wanted to put on record some of the history behind the village precinct projects in my local area. So we currently have the Seven Hills Village Precinct project underway. That was after a decade-long campaign by myself and also the former councillor from Morningside, Councillor Sutton, to upgrade this particular precinct in Seven Hills. There were multiple petitions and community campaigns over that time, and ultimately it resulted in 1.2 million being allocated to Seven Hills. That work is underway. Great to hear that Carina was completed in 6 weeks, but we have had multiple delays with our project. I know that the businesses there have been suffering through COVID, and in some ways it couldn't be a better time for these works to be finalised. So I'm hoping to see that finalisation in the coming weeks and certainly before the end of financial year. But this project, in terms of what it will do for Seven Hills, it is a small precinct, but there is quite a variety of shop frontages there. And one of the biggest issues coming out of the consultation was specifically around parking. Now, the consultation process that was held, there were over 100 submissions that came back, and about 80% of those were in relation to some of the parking issues experienced in the Corso. Council didn't address that issue specifically, and that was disappointing, I think, because there have been plans developed to improve parking in that local area, and certainly something that I will be looking at for the new financial year is to undertake those works out of the community fund. But I think that when we look at these projects, we do need to have consideration for the particular requirements of that local community and really tailor our projects to those local communities' needs. So there is another matter outstanding from this village precinct project, and that is a further reduction of speed for the street. I know that there was consultation happening with the state government about that, so that there could be some road artwork undertaken and completed as part of the village precinct project. So I'm hopeful that that will still occur, Mr. Chair. But I want to thank the businesses for their support and their patience. They were the ones that went out and got hundreds of signatures in support of this project. I'm sure they will be very pleased to see the completion of it. The other thing I wanted to talk about in relation to village precinct projects is Oxford Street. So we've presented another petition to council in relation to Oxford Street. And I think that given the Lord Mayor's commitment, which has been confirmed by Councillor Adams around the City of Lights commitment of $200,000 for Oxford Street, this would actually be a very good opportunity to start doing some of the planning for a village precinct project for Oxford Street. We did have a discussion about that in committee, and that there would potentially be alternate sources of funds available, perhaps not under this program, but in some of the revitalisation that we might see across the city. So I'm very interested in progressing that. I know that the traders on Oxford Street have been very proactive in their approach to this issue, and again, I thank them for their support. I think the biggest issue with village precinct projects, and Councillor Johnston has flagged this in her comments, is about the level of transparency and accountability in the decision-making process with these types of projects. Certainly since my time in council, there have been multiple questions and requests for long lists of projects, for transparency around the decision-making process and how funds are allocated to these projects, what impact, if any, things like petitions have on the process, and specifically what the decision-making process is. We're not talking about small amounts of money here, we're talking about $1 million projects, and certainly the fund itself is in the tens of millions. So I think that the people of Brisbane certainly deserve to have that information. I think that it would help inform local communities about how they go about advocating in their local areas for these types of upgrades. And I think that it is only fair that we provide that information, not only for the residents, but also for councillors if they are looking at advocating on behalf of their community for upgrades in their local areas as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.